a couple timeouts. Keep the whole playbook in. There's no need to rush. You'd like to milk this clock down as low as possible, and if you have to kick a game-winning field goal, so be it. But you definitely don't want to leave Trace McSorley and that big play offense for Penn State anytime at the end of this game.
Both teams coming off heartbreaking losses a week ago. One of them is about to suffer another. Penn State bringing heat. Lewerke in trouble, steps away from one man and gets back to the line of scrimmage. Jason Cabin defend on him on his first blow by, but wound up rallying to get him in at 2nd and 10.
Lewerke's just got to avoid the mistake that he made that really ended the game last week versus Northwestern. Didn't feel the pressure on the backside of the pocket. The ball got knocked out of his hand. He picked it up and tried to make too much of a bad play and ended up making a bad play worse. Ended up losing them the game last week. At this point, take a positive game. If it's not there, don't hold on to that football too long.
2:20 to go. Lewerke steps up, has room to run if he wants to. Instead to the sideline, it's Risen. Looks like he had control before falling out of bounds. It'll depend on the spot. It appears just short.
And I thought where Risen was, he had enough for it. I mean, it almost looked like his butt was right there on the marker. And that ball was dead down the middle.
They're quickly back in the ball, and now it's a moot point. First down run for L.J. Scott. 2:03. Clock stopping for the chains to move. Michigan State right now can really work the entire playbook, although today that's mostly been passing the ball. Talk about Brian Lewerke's temperament. Always the same. Never too up, never too down. Down in the first is a full-time start, trying to lead the Spartans to a win over number 7. On first down, he works play action. And throws dangerously with a break from Warrior. He has 1 interception in the 4th quarter.
So this is what Penn State's doing on defense right now. It's tough to see as a quarterback. So he's going to drop and play this half. He's going to play this deep, and they're going to bring pressure off the edge, and he's going to drop out, almost playing a cornerback. So notice the rotation snap of football. Now Lewerke's got to get back and say, oh, it's different than what I thought it was. A lot of times it's tough as a quarterback after the snap to be able to go through your progression and figure out where you're supposed to go with the football.
They're going to send their rush only 3 this time. Flush him out. There's Darryl Stewart. 3rd down coming up. 1:25 coming.
You're going to take as much time off the clock as you need to. Potentially, even if you want a little more thought, take a timeout. I think they're going to. The guy who stepped up big time against Ben Felton. Figure out some sort of way of getting him the football.
Inside of a minute now. Matt Coggins career long is 46. Need to get to the 29 for that. And they said that they're comfortable around 50. Sure, it would be 53. Timeout with 53 seconds left. It's a tie game with 53 seconds left. 3rd down 4 coming up for Michigan State. 54-yarder from here. To the 29 in his career-long range. That's Matt Coughlin, the redshirt freshman kicker. They're right now focused on trying to keep this drive moving. Penn State bringing the house. Picked up, giving Lewerke time. It's knocked out of there. Tariq Castro Fields pulled it out of the arms of Cody White, and it's 4th down.
And it might be a late hit again on Brian Lewerke.
Flag is laying in the backfield.
Excuse me, the last one was on McSorley, but this one looks like
personal foul.
Wow.
Roughing the passer. Defense number 3. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Drive extended on a critical penalty on Penn State.
Here he is. There's Apke.
It wasn't
it's way late. Yeah, it's on Marcus Allen on number 2. Misidentification, but clearly you could see it was way late and low.
On a captain and a 4-year starter. So 49 seconds, and that moves the ball to Penn State 22. Now well within Matt Coughlin's range. Still, though, 2 timeouts to get it closer.
And nothing's a given, no matter how close you are with this, the conditions of the field, a little bit of wind.
Nothing's a given either with the fumbling problems L.J. Scott has had. He's a running back on 1st down and 10, and he's got it. Both arms over the ball for a moment until he probes into space and works to the 19. And a timeout taken. We'll be back in a moment. Great finish coming up. It was a Penn State timeout, so the Nittany Lions have 1 left. Tie game, 42 seconds remaining, and Michigan State has it at the Penn State 19. The 10th play of this drive is a run to L.J. Scott. They start ripping away at that ball as Scott is down at the 16. This time letting the clock run inside 30 seconds. This is very likely coming down to the leg of the freshman Matt Coughlin.
I would imagine they're going to wait until 3 seconds left. Typically, if you're looking to just have the final play be a kick, and if James Franklin is going to use a timeout now, he'll probably use that final timeout to ice the kicker.
The guy they call McLovin.
We'll be McLovin him tonight if he makes this kick.
He doesn't look one bit phased by this moment. Native of Cincinnati, Ohio, who won the job during fall camp, and they've really liked him. Now 8 of 12 on this season, with 2 of his misses hitting the upright at Northwestern last week. He's got a chance here to keep Michigan State in the driver's seat in the Big Ten East race. Who would have thought at this point? I mean, Mark D'Antonio talked to us yesterday about just simply wanting to be in games that matter in November, about wanting to have a chance to play for a championship. And if Coughlin can poke this one through, Michigan State will set up what nobody thought was going to be a key game for the Spartans in Columbus a couple of months ago. It certainly would be if he could hit this. Out of the hold of Lewerke. From 34 for the win after a timeout. This time the Spartans had a game-winning field goal 2 years ago in Columbus. Michael Geiger from 41 yards. This one a little bit closer. This is one of the nation's youngest teams, and here's a perfect representation of that with a freshman going out to attempt a game winner.
Mark D'Antonio has loved the way his team has responded after losses so far this year. After a loss to Notre Dame, got a tough win versus Iowa at home. The loss to Northwestern on the road last week, now in a position to get a big-time upset.
From 34. For the win. Michigan State's improbable march continues to Columbus. And James Franklin livid about something. Matt Coughlin, the freshman, the hero for the Spartans.
And what can you say about this Michigan State team? The long weather delay, the opportunity, going up against one of the top teams in the country in Penn State. And how about the play of their quarterback, Brian Lewerke? 2 weeks in a row now, over 400 yards passing, helping to carry this team. And Felton Davis coming up with big play time and time again to help put their team in the position to pull off the upset.
It is the 8th win over the last 5 years by Mark D'Antonio's team over the top 10. There are only a few programs in the country with more: Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State.
And on the flip side, James Franklin still yet to get a win on the road versus a ranked opponent.
0-10 in his career now between Vanderbilt and Penn State. And the folks that came back in here after the 3-hour and 23-minute delay are rewarded with a memory and a win over number 7 Penn State. Dickey's performance of the game is the game-winning field goal from the guy they call McLovin. Matt Coughlin from 34 yards right down Broadway.
Penn State did all they can to test the nerves of Coughlin. Tried to ice him, give him a little extra time to think about it, but the freshman wasn't scared. He comes through in the clutch.
Freshman wasn't scared, but the Big Ten might be now. The Spartan team that is 7-2 overall and improbably 5-1 in the Big Ten with one of the nation's youngest teams, a lot like Penn State last year, seemingly a year ahead of schedule. Saquon Barkley on the other side, 14 carries, only 63 yards for the second week in a row, relatively slowed down. And Penn State drops a second in a row after a 7-0 start.
As far as the Heisman is concerned, I'm sure that's the last thing in his mind. After the past 2 weeks, you'd have to think he's dropped in the minds of some of the voters out there as you look at other candidates like Baker Mayfield down there in Oklahoma having himself a day.
In the middle of that celebration, Bruce Feldman has Mark D'Antonio.
Guys, a wild day here. Long, long day. What's going through your mind when that field goal is going through the upright?
7 wins. You know, I knew Matt had it in him. You know, we talked all week long about attacking through. You just need to attack through that goal post. So he had it, and he was very, very confident beforehand.
Your quarterback, Arizona kid, looked really comfortable out here in these bad conditions. What stood out and impressed you the most about Brian Lewerke today?
You know, he's just calm. He can make a mistake and come back from the mistake. He can, you know, audible on 2nd and 1 and come back and you know, and clear things up and just keep playing. And I think you got to be able to play through problems, you know, and that's life a little bit.
I don't know if you noticed this, but Ohio State went down today in Iowa. What does this mean for the Big Ten race with what you guys got left in November?
Well, it gets a little interesting. Spartans like to make it interesting in November, so, hey, we're hanging around. We just got to win them one at a time.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
And the next one up for Mark D'Antonio and the Spartans is in Columbus next weekend against Ohio State. After that, it'll be Maryland and Rutgers. 2 games the Spartans will be heavily favored in. So perhaps one game to decide if Michigan State can make an improbable run to the Big Ten championship game. 27-24 the final in this one. Rob Stone in Los Angeles for more post-game coverage right after these messages.